Morning. Today is Friday, the 22nd day of Elul. A week from tonight, we're going to be on Rosh Hashanah. Today we will begin the 16th chapter of Igeret HaKodesh. And last letter, the 15th chapter, was in a way a little different, unique than most of the letters. Most of the letters talk about tzedakah. And the last chapter, we discussed all the 10 attributes. Alter Rebbe discussed it in depth, which is a very basic concept in Chassidus. And this letter, the Alter Rebbe goes back to the concept of tzedakah. And it is a letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote to one community that apparently could not afford. They were in a very deep financial crisis, and they couldn't afford to give the tzedakah, the regular tzedakah that they would give for Eretz Israel. As you mentioned before, Alter Rebbe used to send shluchim, messengers, to collect from the local communities in the villages, all the Jewish communities, to collect money for the people in Israel. There was a group of Hasidim headed by Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Haradak in Eretz Israel, and they had literally nothing, no support whatsoever. So the Alter Rebbe sent shluchim to collect money for them. And apparently this community that the Alter Rebbe writes a letter was going through a very difficult time. And the money that came in was not what they used to do. And here in this letter, the Alter Rebbe writes to them that even in their situation, they should still continue to give tzedakah. And the Alter Rebbe brings it from both, even halachically they should do it, and go also beyond the level of requirement. And also the Alter Rebbe concludes also with the brachas that comes from this. So this is divided into 2 days, today and tomorrow. So let's see inside. And the Alter Rebbe begins chapter 16 in Igeret HaKodesh. He addresses the letter, it's La'anshei Keilas, to the members of the community of, and they didn't put the name of the community. And he begins the letter with Ahuvai, my beloved ones, Achai, my brothers, my brethren, Vereyai, my friends, Asher Kenafshi, who are to me like my own soul. Alter Rebbe addresses with love that he had to eat each and every person. In Eloi Nela Mimeni, says the Alter Rebbe, Tzukah Itim. The hardship of these times are not hidden from me. I'm aware of the hardships. Asher Nizdal de lo haparnasa, that the livelihood, the means of earning, was declined. Ubefrat, and especially, Ayaduim li mimachanechem, those known to me from your community, Ashamoto Yodam, whose hands have faltered. I know them personally, that they are doing not very good. Bli shum mishon umashena, that they have nothing to lean on, no support. It's a word, actually the words comes from the Bible, mishon umashena, Shaya. Umamash, and these people literally love him va'oichlim. They literally borrow in order to eat. That's how the situation of these people were. And Alter Rebbe immediately gives them a bracha, and he says, Hashem yerachem aleim, may Hashem have mercy upon them, compassion upon them, ve'yarchiv lohem batzar, and he will give them in their straits, it should make them widen, should give them an abundance. Bekorov, very soon. However, says the Alter Rebbe, ve'im kol zeh, nonetheless, loy toive moisim lenafsham, they are not acting rightly onto their soul. Lefia nishma, based on what I heard. Asher kofzu yodem abesucha, that they closed their opened hand, the hand that was always open since the beginning until this day. They've always been open. Litein beyad meleyo ve'ayin yofa, to give with a full hand and a generous eye. What does it mean, a generous eye? What does it mean, a full hand? Full hand means to give a lot. What does it mean, ayin yafa, generous eye? We know in the Mishnah, it talks about the mitzvah of teruma. You have the mitzvah of Maisa, giving the tithing, and you have the mitzvah of teruma. Teruma you give to the Kohen. So the mitzvah of the tithing, we have an amount. You have to give 10%. But the teruma, the gift that you give to the Kohen, in the Torah, there is no number. The Torah doesn't give you an amount how much you have to give. So really, literally, according to the Torah, you could give one tiny grain can cover the whole field. There's no amount, no minimal amount that you have to give. However, our sages established, and they gave 3 numbers. It says ayin yafa, a good eye, a generous eye, gives 1/40th, 1 out of 40. Ayin beinanis, an average eye, is 1/50th, like 2%. The ayin ro, and not a good eye, is 1/60. So the minimum they put 1/60, but a good eye is 1/40th. So sometimes a person can have a huge amount of fields, and if he will give 1/60th, it will still add up to a lot. So he's giving a lot, but for him it's not enough, because for him it's still considered a bad eye, because he's giving from him, he's capable of giving more. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Ayin yafa, will give it with a good eye, meaning that you give your fair share more than the average, you give more. This is what's called ayin yafa. So the Alter Rebbe continues to saying that these people, they were giving the ayin yafa, they were giving with a generous eye. For all the vital necessities, to satisfy the needs of the clean destitute, the poor people. Evian is a poor man. Evian is somebody who's really poor. Neki means clean. What does it mean, clean? There's 2 ways of understanding it. Clean could mean that clean from sins, that they're poor men and they're clean from sins. It can also mean clean, that they're completely clean, they have nothing left. So these people in the Holy Land, both was true. They were poor people, and they were clean, meaning spiritually they were pure people. And they were also clean completely. They had nothing there. There was no means of support whatsoever. And whose their eyes are lifted up unto us. They're depending on us. And if we will not have pity on them, chas v'shalom, God forbid, who will have pity on them? And the Torah says, continues the Alter Rebbe, v'chei achicha imach ksiv. It is written, and your brother may live with you. Which means that when you have a brother, you have to make sure that he lives with you. And although it says in the Torah, although the Torah says that when there's a question of your life and somebody else's life, your life comes first. Says the Alter Rebbe, that was not said in a regular circumstance, only in a case, it only applies in a case when one has 1 pitcher of water and only one, let's say 2 people walking in a desert, and one guy has a little bit of water, if they're going to split the water, they're both going to die. And if he keeps the water, he's going to live, and the other person is going to die. So in that case, the Torah says your life comes first. So in other words, when do you say that your life comes first if it's a matter of life and death? If it's something of equal needs that both need, that you don't have food and the other person doesn't have food, yes, you have to feed your family first. Which is equal for both of them. To both of them to drink, to bring the life back to in the thirst. But what happens in a different case? But if the poor man needs bread for the children, and he needs wood to warm up, and he needs clothing to keep in the cold, and similar things. All of these necessities takes precedence to all of the fancy clothing that a person has, and having the feasts and the zevach mishpacha, feast for the family, the meat, the fish, basar, the dogim, chol matamim, shel adam, chol bnei beisai. In other words, the Alter Rebbe says, if you have an issue of getting your luxuries, but there's another person, another Jew that doesn't have the necessities, you don't say, first I'm going to make sure I have my vacation set up, I have my summer house, and I have this, and I have that, and everything, until I'm completely comfortable, then I'm going to help somebody else. Says the Alter Rebbe, in this case, V'loi shayich b'zeh chayecha koidmin. This does not apply the concept of your life comes first. Why? Because here you're not talking about your literal life, like the life of the poor person has nothing. Shove b'shove mamash, which is literally equal. As it says in the tractate Nedarim, in the Talmud, page 80. This is the end of the Shir. I just want to conclude with a nice story. In the time of the Alter Rebbe, when he used to send the shluchim to collect the money, he used to give certain people, he used to tell them an amount, how much they should give. And there was one chassid, his name was Reb Gavriel, and Reb Gavriel was a wealthy person, well-to-do, and he would always give nice amount. Alter Rebbe would tell him how much he would give, and he would give. But then one year, Gavriel lost everything. He didn't even tell his wife, but he lost everything. And he borrowed it. He had a very difficult time. And then one day, the chassid, the shaliach, the messenger from the Alter Rebbe comes. And he comes to him and he tells him, and the Alter Rebbe sent me, he wants you to give this and this amount. And Reb Gavriel came home. And his wife saw that he's very disturbed, something is bothering him. And she asked him, what's going on, Gavriel? And he says, he told her the truth. He told her, I got to tell you the truth. I didn't tell you, I didn't want to make you feel bad, but we're not doing well. And now the Alter Rebbe sent me and tells me that I should give this and this amount. So his wife, she went and she sold her jewelry. And she took the money and she polished the money, the coins, and she gave her husband the amount what the Alter Rebbe told him. And the chassid didn't even wait. And he went and he took this amount. Came to the Alter Rebbe himself to give it to the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe saw the money. The Alter Rebbe right away saw, he said, this money shines, there's something special. Tell me what's going on. And the chassid told the Alter Rebbe the truth and what happened. And the Alter Rebbe gave him a bracha, and the Alter Rebbe gave him a bracha that he should be successful, and he should be noisei chen, he should be find favor in the eyes of people. And he came back. I don't remember all the details of the story, but he became, they called him Gavriel noisei chen, Gavriel, the one who has favor, everybody likes him. And he became very, very wealthy, very successful. So when that person, when he gave, when there was difficult, when he couldn't give the tzedakah, he nevertheless kept it. And he gave it, and this was the bracha that he got from the Alter Rebbe. So the Rebbe should help him. We should all have a good Shabbos and a ksiva b'chasim tova. Please, this is the end of the shiur. Join us again Sunday morning. And we should have all the best and share. Anybody has any questions, we can discuss it now.